Hey everybody, what's going on? You are listening to the Playing On Podcast. My name is Carl Markowski, and thank you for joining me. Just a few days till World Cup. Holy crap. 2017 is already almost pretty much gone. That's crazy. I mean, I remember when the season was just around the corner and getting ready to start, and you know, everything was up in the air. It was crazy, but now the season is almost done, and you know, with the team and Aftershock, I think we've played. You know, I don't want to say we underperformed, but I think we were right there. I mean, there's 3 tournaments where we lost by 1 point in overtimes, and could have played on Sunday, but you know, those 1 points, that's all it takes. But here we are, World Cup. Time for us to perform and step up and make something happen. But before we get into this podcast with Mike Waring, quick thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Dr. Paintball, where you can finance all of your paintball gear that you could think of. If you head over to drpaintball.com, they have all kinds of paintball gear. They have blogs, they have videos, they have you know, those self-help things to help grow paintball, and that's their mission over there is to be able to help the average paintball player, you know, become better, whether it, you know, have him be able to afford the paintball, his or her paintball marker of their dreams, but also gear too. They have a used gear section, and they're doing everything they can to help the paintball community. So go ahead and check them out at drpaintball.com. We are also brought to you by Charm City Paintball, and he is going to be, like I said in the last podcast, I said he was going to have a booth. He's not going to have a booth, but he will be there, and he'll have some cool headbands that not only headbands, but he'll also have some head wraps. He'll have some of the pack straps that I'm working with him on, and some few other goodies. So make sure you keep an eye out for Charm City Paintball. We are also brought to you by GI Sports, and this is a good opportunity to bring up the LVL loader that we are shooting. Not only are we doing that, but we're also we use the glide pants. We have the GI paint that Aftershock shoots. I mean, they've been a monster in the industry for a while now, and they've been putting out awesome product. I'm really impressed with this loader that we've been using all season, and it's been lights out. So thank you to GI Sports, and finally a big thank you to Planet Eclipse, and they sponsor each and every podcast, and their G-Mech, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but this thing is nasty. I mean, it looked like so much fun when John was shooting it over on PB Nation, and it was so smooth and quiet and just gnarly. I wanted to shoot one right then. It was awesome. So make sure you check it out over at planeteclipse.com, along with all their amazing markers. So thank you to all of our sponsors. And now into our podcast with Mike. I wanted to sit him down. He's one of the up-and-comers from Tampa Bay Damage. Great to hear his story. It's cool to have a local, you know, a local kid from a state where a pro team is from, to come up and eventually play on a team that he's looked up to for so many years. It was a great story. Great guy. We hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Thanks for listening. Michael Waring.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining me, man. How you doing?
No problem, man. I'm doing pretty good, man. It's finally cold in Florida for the first time. It got in the 50s and 60s, so we're all bundled up down here.
I was gonna say, what's cold down there in Florida for you?
if below 70, you're putting a jacket on. Definitely.
Dude, and if it's 50 up here, it's still summer.
I wish. It would feel good. I mean, I grew up in Florida. I've lived here my whole life, so I like the hot. It gets a little cold for me. I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah. So
still haven't seen snow either.
No?
No, never seen snow.
Oh man, you got to come up here to the Midwest sometime, like December, January, and just.
Definitely.
You don't need to drive. Just maybe ride in a car that has some snow up here.
Just stay inside the car.
Yeah. Well, where was it? I think it was last year. Like Georgia or somebody got snow, and there was just accidents everywhere, and people were going crazy, anarchy.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's Atlanta. Every time it snows in Atlanta, there's accidents everywhere.
So yeah, while we were getting this set and everything, I was watching some of the impact footage that they had for the World Cup layout. It's really, really interesting how this layout is kind of playing out. It's almost like an old school 5-man layout where there's just a bunch of like stand-up bunkers on the snake side, but then there's still kind of a somewhat snake. But what do you think of the layout?
I thought it was a really technical and like teamwork layout. There's a lot of bunkers that you can combo with a few other players on your team, and as long as those 2 or 3 guys know what's going on and is paying attention, you guys can lock the field down pretty well. And the Dorito side to me looked like it was going to be fast and like perfect for me, kind of like the Atlantic City layout, but without that little wing at the 50 that we had in Atlantic City. It's kind of that back center kind of helps out, and that tower can shoot down a little bit too. So it didn't play as fast as I personally thought it would, but could be different. You never know.
Now in Chicago though, you played more or less up the center, did you not?
In Chicago, I made the switch to play the wall completely, but I'm kind of like the torpedo on the team, so when it comes to practices, I play the one on the snake side, I play up the middle to the wall, I play the one on the Dorito side. They just kind of give me looks everywhere in case there's a spot that we think is needed and I can use my speed to get to. I can go to either side of the field. We try to keep it versatile, so I'm not predictable.
No, man, I feel you. I know that torpedo role so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's good though, because you get with that role, there's a lot of responsibility. I feel like a lot of people, when they hear like, oh, this guy's a weapon on your team, or he's like a torpedo, or he's this or that, like people think you're just like a one-trick pony. But I think I take it as a compliment, because your team, I feel at that point, trust in you so much to go and do your job. They put so much at risk sending you to these spots, but that risk is trust. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you. I understand that for sure.
Yeah, so I think it's a lot of responsibility on our shoulders.
Definitely. Jason always tells me, he's like you don't have to get down on yourself when you get shot as being the one on the field. If you get down the field and you shoot 2 people and you get shot, you've done your job. Like, walk off the field with your head held high. Yeah. It's, as a front player, that's your job, is to go out there, get to those spots that no one else can get to really fast, take your 2 kills, give your team the body advantage, and get off the field. So,
see, that's why I feel like it's obviously like the whole points thing. Like, we're the ones running through the lanes trying to get to the front spots, while the guys in the back are just shooting their guns, and if they shoot us off the break, they get a point. But if we make a far bunker on the break, we don't get a point. Like, we get the advantage of possibly getting a couple kills or not, but I feel like initially that risk is ours. So
definitely.
I don't know. I'm so biased on the whole points thing, because I feel like shots are missed. Like, I'm always running and shooting to a corner, and I'm always shooting up the center, and I feel like I don't get those kills, or I don't get the back center kills or anything like that. It always goes somewhere else. So it's like, it's a biased point system. I don't know. It's cool though. It keeps people involved who maybe don't play as much, or
definitely. It helps keep things somewhat organized.
Yeah. Well, that's cool that they have you in that role, and I can see just with your athletic ability, your paintball knowledge is only going to keep growing, your IQ.
Yeah, I definitely think playing that spot is how you get the most experience quickly. Like, I feel like coming to the pro game after playing the divisionals for so many years, like I had to relearn how to play paintball. It's a completely different game. At least to me, that's the way I learned it, with the guys that I was surrounded by. And it's kind of just crazy to me. And so to play that front role, you get the most experience in the craziest of situations, and you have to learn to adapt really fast, or you're just going to get put into the ground every single point. So it kind of helps you do that rather than sitting back hiding and shooting a lane all day or something. You're not going to learn much very quick doing that, I don't think.
Well, I think every spot has its own learning curve, right? Like
True.
If you're a terrible back guy, you're gonna notice that right away. If you're a terrible front guy, you're gonna notice that right away. But I feel like I feel like the responsibility of being a front guy, if you're not able to do your job right away, people are gonna notice, and you're gonna get shot out quick. But if I feel like if you're more of a 2 or a 3 or a back, whatever you want to call it, if you're not necessarily doing your job right away, I mean, you could like drop a lane or something, and somebody could shoot you in, and then the front guy gets run down, and then it's the front guy's like, well, why'd you get run down? Well, you should have been looking this way or whatever. And it's like, I feel like it's a lot more hard mentally on the front guys. Well, let's do this. Let's kind of get into your background, into your history, and you know, how paintball came into your life, or how you discovered paintball.
So I was 13, I think it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 13, like 7th grade. And my best friend at the time, same typical casual cliche story. He wanted to go to the paintball field for his birthday for the first time. And, you know, it's your best friend, so you always want to go do what they do. And you're like, all right, cool. I wasn't really hot on the idea at first, to be honest with you. I was like, oh, paintball, you know, I'd played football, so I wasn't scared of like the paint or anything. It didn't appeal to me at the time. And so I was like, oh, I'll go do it anyway because you want to for your birthday. And from that weekend on, for about 2.5 years, I think I played rec ball every single weekend without missing a weekend except for like holidays. I got hooked like right away, immediately, just how everyone.
Did you stop all the
does.
other sports?
No, I still played. I played football all the way through high school. I played 14 years of football. I played from like the time I was 5 until I graduated. And then I went to FAU down in Boca Raton for college for about 1.5 years and considered trying to walk on down there. But I just hadn't hit my growth spurt yet, so I was still kind of small. So even though I had played for 14 years and I like long snaps, so I had a good specialty, I just didn't really think it was the thing. And at that point I had gotten into paintball a lot, so I chose to pursue paintball rather than football. But going back to where that started, you know, I went from rec ball every single weekend to meeting a group of friends, and, you know, they told me, oh, hey, you know, you can play tournaments for paintball. And I was like, oh, you know, that's sweet. You can win money and stuff, right? And they're like, well, yeah. And so, do you want to start practicing with us and join our team? You're pretty fast. That's what they told me. And I was like, okay, sweet. And they're like, you'll be the snake guy, of course. You know, like you just run down the field really fast. And I'm like, okay, sweet. I didn't know what else to do. And we played local tournaments for about 2 years here at CFP. And in 2009, I played my first national tournament, which was World Cup. And I played D5 5-man with a bunch of local friends, and we won, actually.
Nice.
So I won my first like national tournament ever, and it was pretty. Even though it's D5, it still counts. I got a World Cup.
Hey man, it's something. Win's a win.
Exactly. So that kind of was when I like really hooked it, and I was like, man, I'm actually, you know, kind of good at this sport. Like I was still a beginner at the time, so to even win a tournament at that level was a big booster for you. And I was like, all right, I think I'm going to take it serious. Like football's almost over. I'm not going to keep playing it. And I went to
let me interrupt you for a quick sec. Now, getting into it, I mean, were you like oblivious to like the pro game or to like anything else going on, or did you started following anybody or
I was teams? Completely oblivious to the pro game until about that 2.5 year mark, actually. Was Travis Day and Marky Ireland showed up to Orlando Paintball, which is where I started to play paintball. And so they were the first like pro players I ever met. And at that about 2 year mark of playing rec ball, I finally met them, and they kind of through them I kind of learned what pro paintball was. And then through the kids that hung around them that had already known them from the field, they like started to teach me and bring me into the tournament scene. And that's when they're like, oh, you come be the snake guy for us. And so yeah, T-Day and Marky Ireland are like the reason I know about pro paintball.
Yeah, old school Miami Rage guys.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
They're good dudes. And then I've always been around the Edwards family as well since I was about 14 or 15 years old. So,
like friends of the family?
Yeah, friends of the family. Like we met through paintball shortly after like Travis and Marky because Jason played with Rage at the time as well.
Hmm.
So I met Jacob at the field a few times, and Jacob's parents used to own a field out on the coast called Indian River Paintball, and so we would go out there as little kids. Once I learned what tournament paintball was, and met Jacob and Jason and the family, and they've been like a second family to me since I was a little kid. A lot of people don't know that; they think I was just like the new kid on the team out of nowhere, but I've been around most of the Damage guys since I was a little kid.
Now, what prevented you from kind of climbing the ranks with everybody else?
So, like everyone's got a past and a story. I had a rough like family growing up, bad divorce between my parents, and
I
took
know how that
paintball
is, man.
yeah, and it kind of pushed me away from my family for a little bit. So I was kind of supporting myself, and as a young kid, still in high school, and having kind of a part-time job, it was kind of hard to pay for paintball. So I had to step back for about 2 or 3 years from paintball actually, and I only played maybe one or two local tournaments a year, and
Yeah.
if I even played at all, until I got finally in a position where I was making money, working full time, and was able to support myself, and then was blessed to come apart with the Total Carnage program. And the guy who owned that program was very generous. If I worked at the field full time, he compensated and would help me practice on the weekends, and help me get to events if I needed it and stuff like that. So that was how I
Yeah.
made it kind of through those rough years. But once I grew up a little bit and set myself up, it was good from there. And that's I made like about a 2 year run, like a serious run, and that's within those 2 years was when I finally got my tryout with Damage. So that's kind of
That's
it.
well, I mean, dude, everybody has those. Everybody sees all these pro players and even the new guys coming up, and well, they get this and they get that and they get like, dude, I had a
Hmm.
journey that I had
Oh
to
yeah.
cut through thick bush to get to where I
Oh yeah.
am. And nobody, I think, until like these podcasts, I started doing these podcasts and everything. I don't feel like anybody really understood or really took in or took serious what we do and how we got to where we are.
It's a
Um,
crazy sacrifice, definitely.
it is totally, and you go back to what you were talking about of how you would get compensated for doing work at the paintball field, and in
Hmm.
turn you would get maybe paint or
Hmm.
something like that. So it's that obsession at, I believe, a young age to not only just play paintball, right? But to be a better paintball player each time you step on the field.
Exactly.
And that's what you have to be on a team of today. Because I feel like any of the pro teams of today can beat anybody.
Most
Um,
definitely.
I,
It's very
yeah,
competitive today.
dude, this is the most competitive paintball that I've seen throughout the
Agreed.
years, guaranteed.
Most definitely.
Everybody's just so damn good, dude. And everybody's
It's
shot is
crazy.
so good. The teams themselves, even though all might not be funded the best or equally, all want it just as bad, and all are, 10 out of 10 players are just monsters on the field.
Yeah.
But 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 everybody has that story of that struggle of getting to where you need to get to, and the obsession at a young age of wanting to be the best out of your area, then the best in the state, then the best in the Midwest, and then the best in the world. Everybody has
Yeah.
that step, and it comes with a lot of sacrifice. Time away from family, time away
Most
from
definitely.
loved ones and everything. So it's not. We don't get a free ride. I mean, there's
No.
always, you always have to pay through something.
Yep. I mean, you lose many girlfriends along the way. You miss
Many.
many like many friends and family birthdays. I missed my mom got remarried to my stepdad, and I was unfortunately out. I was playing divisional paintball, but I wanted to go pro, and I didn't want to miss a
Mhm.
tournament, and happened to fall on the same weekend, and I chose to go to the tournament over my mom's own wedding. Kind
Yeah.
of you make kind of crazy choices like that when you're a little determined to do things. It paid off for me, thankfully. But if you put your mind to it, yeah, I think you can do anything.
Yeah, and you can't, at this level too, you can't regret anything, because
No.
if you do, you're going to be regretting a lot of shit that you're going to miss.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you just got to take it and roll with it, and you just be as determined as you can. But you obviously don't want to lose what you have at home. But
Right.
those things that can be sacrificed, that you can possibly put in the work more for paintball or for whatever it is for anybody out there. You just gotta sacrifice things for sure.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely wasn't too happy at the time, but we always kind of joke around about it. Now she's always like, "Well, I guess it kind of paid off for you, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, it worked out, I guess." So
if she loves you, which I'm sure she does, she understands
most definitely.
And that's what moms do, man. Moms support. Like my mom, honestly, my mom and my stepdad, because my parents were divorced too, and they were divorced at a young age. I was probably, I want to say probably like 7 or 8, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
they got divorced.
I was 12, I think, 12 or 13.
And I mean, that was, I could still kind of remember what was going on and what was happening. And with my stepdad came in, God bless him, stepped up to the plate and everything, and really taught me a lot. But when I first started playing paintball serious and started missing some things and missing baseball games and football games, I was a decent athlete back in high school, and when I started missing these games, it really took my parents as a surprise, because they're like, well, what are you doing? You're doing this hobby thing on the side, and we're paying for all these sports for you to go to school. But once they saw what I was doing was, I don't want to say paying off, but just saw how much I was dedicating myself to it and my time and my effort, they realized that it meant something serious to me, and I think that's what meant the most to me from them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It was kind of a funny story when my mom kind of switched to like the full support role. It's like for the first like 5 years that I played tournaments, my mom had never come to one, it just never struck her interest. It was just something she let me do growing up. And one day I was helping run a Division I team at the time, and so I was responsible for ordering all the sponsorship gear and all that kind of stuff, and it got shipped to the house one day. And my mom answered the door to the UPS guy, and it was just boxes and boxes and boxes for like a whole 10-man, like a 10-person team worth of full gear, guns, loaders, tanks, everything.
Yeah.
My mom was like, so they just like send you guys this stuff? And we're like, well, some of it's discounted, some of it's free. It all depends on, how we perform, depending on what deals you work out. And my mom was just like, so you don't go to the woods every weekend with your friends and shoot at each other? And I'm like, where have you been for the last 5 years, Mom? Like, no, I play these tournaments. And she was like, oh, well, this is pretty sweet. Like, now I want to learn about it. And she got into it, and then she started coming to World Cup and everything every year since it's local. And so
what
that
a
was
tournament to be local and come to, man.
Yeah, I'm like a 35-minute drive north of the event site right now.
No, I would go home and sleep in my bed and then come to the field.
Yeah, it's sweet. We have a tradition though, because there's a place down there right by the event site called Champions Gate, where we used to always stay at for like every World Cup, whether it was at Fantasy of Flight or anything. So we for the last, I don't know, I've been going to World Cup since 2009 was the first year was at Fantasy of Flight, and we've stayed at Champions Gate every year since then without missing. So it's just like the tradition. Even though we're all within like an hour and a half of the event, we still like to stay there. It's kind of like a family vacation.
Oh, I know Champions Gate. We stay there all the time.
Yeah, it's nice in there.
But yeah, let me see. I think I started playing 2002-ish, somewhere around there. Turned pro in 2004, and then my parents didn't go to an event until 2006, Chicago. And that's the first event I won. Was at 2006 Chicago.
That's awesome.
And they were just hooked instantly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they had such a good time.
My dad was at the Division V World Cup win, so he was the same thing. Like, he coached me all through football growing up and everything. So he's a big sports guy. Like, he's the reason I'm into sports. And he got hooked right there at that tournament when we won. There was coaching around, so my dad made me give him a layout with all the codes on it so he could help yell from the sideline.
My parents were the same way.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. My mom, like I said, she didn't come till like I went pro. Her first World Cup was my first year pro, which was 2015. But my dad came to that very first one, and he was like all about it since then. And every time I had a tournament, like, he watches all the Go Sports tournaments. He wants to lay out every tournament so he can pay attention and know what's going on. Like, it's pretty fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, I think being somebody who has like a sport background, you can see especially when you're at the event, you can see the just the competitive side of everything. You
Most
know, and you can even with the slower layouts or anything like that, you can still see that, you know, especially the position that you and I play, you can see that aggressiveness and that athletic ability that is needed to play those positions and spots, and that's really cool that he's into it that much.
It's sweet, man. Like it's sports has been a huge part of my life, and that's kind of why like it's awesome to have paintball around still and be professional at it, because I'm super competitive. Everything I do in life, whether it's a sport or not, I'm like I compete at it with everybody, and I don't do it on purpose, but it just naturally happens, and
it's in your blood, man.
Yeah, it's just in my blood, and I'm excited. You know, I just started going back to school as well this year. I'm going to do a sport and exercise science degree, so I'm just trying to ride through the rest of my life doing nothing but sports, which I think will be pretty sweet.
Hell yeah! The more you know, the more you'll grow.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
Exactly.
And it's, you know, especially of, you know, times of today, the more knowledge you have, the better. I mean, that's plain and simple. But let's go. So how did the Tampa Bay Damage tryout come about?
So I played in 2014. Me and a bunch of friends that had played together in past like recent divisional years on other teams like the Vipers and CFP teams and stuff. We were like, let's be the first like Florida pro team where it's just all the homies and no coaches and no structure and no staff. We're just gonna go see what happens. And we were the brokest kids you could find in Florida, and you know, piecing together, borrowing half the setups for tournaments and stuff. And we played Division 2, and we got 7th place our first event, I believe, and then we went to MAO the next event and we won. And
nice.
That was 2014, so that was like the really super slow layout where games were like 2-1 and 1-1 and all that kind of stuff. It was a fun tournament. So we did that, and eventually we earned our Division 1 spot at the end of the year because we got 4th in Chicago and 3rd at World Cup. So we played consistently, and we started to practice damage towards the end of the year because they were like, okay, you guys are, you know, the top level team in Florida. You know, there was no semi-pro teams or anything, so we would scrimmage them on their off weekends, and they started to, you know, all of us started to get better and better, and we went to Dallas the following year to the last PSP event as Rack City in Division 1 as our first Division 1 tournament, and we played and we didn't make it out of prelims. We went 2-2. We were the first team to miss the cut. We got 9th, but after that, I guess Damage had decided, you know, some of the new guys that they had picked up weren't working out, and they wanted to go ahead and have a second tryout. And they invited me and 2 of my other teammates from Rack City, and then 2 other people as well from other teams to a little private tryout. And me and Silos were the 2 that got picked up out of that tryout. They were looking for, you know, fast snake guys because they had, you know, they're all the old veterans. You know, and they just want to sit in the back now. They don't really.
Maybe you just say they're all the veterans. Maybe if they hear you say old veterans,
they hear it every weekend. Us young kids on the team give it to them. We make sure they know that they're old.
Damn, you know that it makes me feel like shit because I'm probably the same age that they are.
Maybe, you never know.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
25?
Yeah.
See, you're not that young either.
I'm not that young. I know. I get it from Jake because Jake just turned 22, so he gives it to me all the time.
He's only 22?
Yeah, Jacob just turned 22 this year.
Jeez, I thought he was older than that.
Maybe
it's the beard.
He's a little baby. It is the beard. It's a ginger beard.
Maybe. How old is Silos?
Silos is 23, I think, or 24. He's like a year younger than me. Yeah, so they call us the kids on the team. So like anytime when like the 3 of us are on the field together, the coach Pat just goes, "Hey, I need the kids and Jason and Tim," like, or whoever else he calls. It's pretty sweet. We got our little gang.
Now, so did you make the tryout in one weekend, or was it kind of a give and take?
They did just a 1-day tryout. Because there was only 5 of us, and they ran us through a few like target drills, and then we did some like snap shooting drills, and they did a one-on-one competition as well. And then after that, we transitioned into like running drills with the team, so they could see like how each person fit in with the guys that were already on the team at the time. And it was only 1 day, but it was probably about an 8-hour day. Like we started at 9:30, 10 in the morning. We played till 4:30 in the afternoon without stopping. So it was a grueling practice. I ran and dove a lot all day long. but it
Which
earned
is
me my
expected.
spot. Yeah, it earned me my spot though. That's what they were looking for. There was a couple other players there that maybe talent wise were better overall at the time than I was, and but they were looking for that El Torpedo, and I guess they saw the potential in me. That's what they told me. They were like, you're not pro ready yet, but you have the speed, and we think we can teach you how to play the game. You look like you have the potential. So they believed in me, and I think they've been doing a pretty good job over the last 3 years so far. Those are some knowledgeable veterans to learn from for sure.
Dude, they know what they're doing, man. They know how to win. All those guys on that team have won, and
Wow.
the experience all together. With Tim and Jason, and just the old school Damage guys themselves. They all have won before, and they know how. And and I've been playing against them for years, and they're all dude, they can play anything. They can play at you,
Yep.
or they can sit back and let you make the mistake. And
Yep.
they have a good roundabout team of being, especially now with you and the other newer guys on the team. They have this really encompassing of weapons.
We've got all the pieces. We just got to put them together now. That's all it is.
Exactly. I mean, so what have you learned over the years so far? Or how long have you been playing with the team now? A couple years.
This is my third season on the team.
Your third season. So when you first got on the team to now, what was the major thing that you had to work on, and what they kind of pounded in your head of, you have the speed, but what did you need to work on to get to where you are now?
100% the mental game.
Yeah.
Everything about the mental game, like everything I thought of, like what you should do in certain situations and where you should put yourself if this guy's here or that guy's there, like what I thought was correct as a divisional player, they opened up my eyes to, well, yeah, you could have done that, but it would have been way better. You might have been able to shoot two people if you'd have done this at this point rather. And so it was just learning how, like, the pros think about the game is what was the biggest thing for me. And it took a while and a lot of trial, and they shot the crap out of me at practice and made me pay for it. But that is the biggest thing for me that I think separates a professional from a divisional player is more the mental game than anything. And
yeah,
it's everything on the field to me, at least.
Yeah, because especially now, everybody's running and shooting. Everybody's getting so accurate with everything, and everyone can have those mechanics down, right? It's the same thing with the Russians. They're gonna pound those mechanics into your head, but until you get that mental side down, and it's not gonna come overnight. You're gonna have those. Yeah, you got to have those experiences, that game, that field time experience. And it does eventually click, but I mean, I'm always learning on the field, and I'm sure a lot of veterans will say the exact same thing. We're always learning, because even though a lot of situations are going to be the same, and you're going to be able to, and you're still going to learn this too. You're going to be able to start making the right decision more and more often. Mm-hmm. But even though those situations are similar, there's always a stick in the spikes or a stick in the spokes, because you could always head check into a ball, or there's so many variables. You just have to be so mentally sharp on what to do, especially losing bodies quick, being able to know if you got to retreat, or maybe if you bump up to the next spot, you can shoot this lane, and you know that they're going to start filling on the other side of the field, so you clip that guy, now you spin the field around. And there's a lot of things, and I think especially in your position, it's very, very similar to mine on how I grew up. It was, I had the athletic ability, I had the speed, but I didn't have the mental part. Not only
Exactly.
I was lacking in the paintball IQ side, but also in the self-confidence side. I was really lacking, and man, if I got shot, it was my fault. Like, if I got shot off the break, it was my fault. Or if I didn't shoot, I thought about this when I was younger. If I didn't shoot at least 2, 3, 4 guys a game, I'm not doing my job. I put a lot of weight on my shoulders, and it wasn't until, I started playing more paintball and started playing against more experienced guys, started getting taught by a lot more experienced guys, to where you don't have, there's 5 guys on the field. Mm-hmm. You go, I'm going to tell you your first 5 to 10 seconds of what you need to do on the field, and then after that, it's up to you.
It's
It's
audible
on.
after that.
Exactly, it's audible, and you need to start making decisions. I'm only going to make the first decision for you,
Yep.
and then as a coach. But eventually when I started learning that, the field really started to open up for me, and I started to see a lot more. And instead of those, it still happens, because we're going so fast and we're doing those quick runs or whatever. The gears are turning so fast, but you get to that point to where those gears are spinning fast, but as soon as you need it to, they start slowing down and becoming way more clear than you've ever thought. And I've been saying this to a lot of the guys now, is that life in general and paintball too it's a process, right? Of doing anything and completing anything, or even having any kind of mental mental edge on anything, is just knowing that you can do it. Is knowing that you can do it and going through the process. Don't try and win the tournament. Don't try and win the match. Don't try and win the point. Win the gunfight.
Exactly.
And then you can win the match, and then you can win the tournament. You know what I mean? It's those
one step at a time.
Exactly. This has to happen before this, and this has to, do the small things to create your reality almost on the field, and put your will on somebody to make it happen. Yeah, there's so much. I mean, it sounds complicated, but if you break it down, and I keep explaining this to the guys, if you break it down, don't let the moment become bigger than what it is, because theoretically, World Cup is just another tournament.
Just another game of paintball.
Exactly. And if you make it into this, which it is, I mean, it's a huge, it's a fucking big tournament that I would love to win, and I love competing in every year. But if you don't take that World Cup bubble and bring it down into something that you can control and contain, and just play as if it's another game, but play it to your best ability each and every point, each and every gunfight, then you're going to get swallowed in it, and you're going to be mentally fucked.
Yeah.
I think you've seen that now with as much paintball as you played. I think you've learned to control that.
My first year, I didn't, obviously as a young rookie that's never had pro experience coming onto the team that I came on with, as many vets as was on, I didn't see the field very much the first year. But once they started throwing me out there the second year, and then like this year, I've had a big role in the team this year so far. It's nice. It's crazy to get that experience. And at first I was wiling out, and I would freak out, and I'd get shot a lot, and I'd make a lot of stupid gun battles, and it was exactly like you were saying. I was overthinking the moment, like, all right, I'm playing pro paintball. This is the biggest tournament ever.
All eyes
I'm
are
in the
on me.
highest division. All eyes are on me. Everyone's watching. There's a webcast. I can't get shot stupid, but then you end up getting shot stupid. Once I learned the experience and it got comfortable on the field, and you just start to zone all that stuff out, and you're like, it's just like being a CFP on the weekend. You got 5 guys on your team with a gun, and you got 5 guys on the other team with guns, and you just play paintball. And it helps you out so much more mentally, because then you're able to clear your mind and stay calm and communicate and work on the things that matter with your teammates, rather than worrying about yourself on the field.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a lot of, it's like you said, with the 5 guys on your side and the 5 guys on the other side, you have to respect no matter who is down there. It could be your grandma down there. You have to respect the ability of the players at this top level, because you can have the utmost confidence, but you will be humbled as quickly as you step onto that field. Very, very quickly. And something that I try and preach to new guys too, or anybody at the clinic, is paintball patience. And really, I think what that just means is timing in general, right? It's knowing when to be patient and when to make a move, or you just, and it's like your first year, how you said you didn't really get that much time on the field. That to me was paintball patience, because if you didn't have that paintball patience, you would have got frustrated and flustered and be like, well, I'm not getting any playing time. Well, fuck this. I'm going to quit. This isn't worth my time. No, you put your nose to the net. You watched, you learned, you listened, and you made that whole season was a mental growth.
It was a learning season for me, definitely.
Exactly. And if you could have taken that the wrong way, and you wouldn't be here. but there's a reason why you are.
Very grateful for it, because I was used to, in all my divisional teams, I was always a starter on all the divisional teams I played. I was always that guy that was out there almost every point, and then to come onto the team and get sat, like you said, it kind of humbles you a little bit, and it makes you be like, okay, well, there's a bunch of people out here that are still a lot better than you at this game, and you need to learn how to be better than them now. And so I took that year to just sit back. I think I'm not even kidding. My first year, I probably paid maybe 10 points between the 3 tournaments. But I was, like you said, I didn't take it sour and sit back and whine and pout. I sat there and watched how every single one of the veterans moved and how they talked about the games and deciphered things as how they went along. And I think I learned more just in that 1 year watching than I did in 3 years of playing divisional paintball and winning a couple tournaments. Like, you just have to suck it up sometimes. Some people don't understand that. Some people can't accept that.
Yeah, and I had that. As I was growing up and playing throughout the years, I was always playing. I was always on the field. I was always a starter. I was always playing, and it didn't really hit me. I didn't really have that experience of sitting long periods of time until I played for XFactor.
Yeah,
and that really, and nothing against X. I think it made me a better player in the end. With it kind of showed me that I'm not needed. I'm expendable.
Exactly. You're everyone's replaceable.
Exactly. Everybody's replaceable, and I'm not sought after if I don't perform, or if I don't step up to the plate. They have players that can do my job, if not better. So, and I think having that 2015 season under my belt not only opened my eyes to a totally different side of how I need to think about things, but it humbled the shit out of me. I'm like, Jesus, that's the least amount of paintball I have ever played my entire career, and I feel like that has been one of the most helping experiences of my life. I mean, and they even pulled me aside. Alex did, and he said, we can't bring you on. You're not really producing for us, and we can't really have you, keep flying down here for practices. And I told him, I was like, I understand. I didn't have the greatest season to begin with, but when they called on it, I went out there and tried to. I think I was trying to prove myself at the same time.
Yeah. New team.
Because it's exactly new team, new guys.
Yeah.
I wanted them to feel like they picked me up for a reason, they didn't waste their money and time on me, and I put a lot of that mental pressure on myself, and it didn't work. But everything happens for a reason, and now with the Aftershock team that we're trying to build and grow, I see a lot of potential in it, and it's crazy how mental paintball is.
It's 90% of the game, I think, between the mental game and the communication with your teammates. Like that, you can win paintball games solely off of better communication than the other team, I think.
Oh yeah, hands down. If you just have guys running down the field like chickens with their head cut off, you are just gonna chop them to pieces. And until you get that, and it's not only communication, it's trust. It's
that's a big thing. It's a very big thing.
Because if I can play the side, if I get sent over on a side by myself by Bruno, and I have the confidence in myself, but if I don't, I'm going to play differently if I feel like I have to kind of watch my back, because I don't think you're going to do that for me.
Yeah, it puts something in the back of your mind where you're like, well, he's on my team, but I haven't played with him long enough, or it might be a new guy, and I haven't had enough time with him, and it puts in that extra mental barrier in your mind that you have to think about, which isn't a good thing. You want your mind to be as clear as possible the entire time.
Yeah, there was a I don't know if you watch hockey or not, or
not a lot of hockey.
The role of an enforcer on a hockey team.
They're out there just to hit people.
And that's the initial thought of whenever somebody thinks of an enforcer. And I watched this documentary. I think it was on Netflix or HBO or something.
I heard of the documentary. I didn't watch it though.
Yeah, I watched it and I was like, it is crazy how much deeper that this whole thing goes into, because it was talking about how you have your greats, your Gretzky's, and they were naming all these top players, but then they also would name one or two enforcer or guys that would kind of watch over them, that would let them play at the top of their ability, because they knew that if somebody from another team messed with Gretzky or messed with one of the stars on the team, that they were going to get an ass kicking or something from one of the enforcer guys. And it had interviews with Gretzky and a few other guys, and said, I wouldn't have been able to do my job the way I did if it wasn't for these other guys. And that's how I feel paintball is, especially for front guys. Like, I can't do anything that I do on the field, I can't do to the best of my ability if I feel like I'm going to get ran down because the guys behind me are not going to do their job. Exactly.
You need that. You need that support behind you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a long ramble, but so you get on the team. Were you mainly kind of like, were you a big Damage fan at the time, or were there any pros or any other teams that you were starting to watch at this time?
So I've always been a Damage fan since I ever learned what tournament paintball was, because they were the local team. I've always played at CFP, and they were out there a lot as a local team. And then knowing the Edwards family, when Jason made the move in 2009 or after 2009 to Damage, and Jake got picked up that following year, and then Keith played in the TK program with us too, and that's when he went pro with Jacob at the same time. So it was like half my friends and then half the people that I watched growing up. So yeah, I was always a big Damage fan, but I was also low key a big XFactor fan growing up.
Yeah,
that was my side team. Everyone kind of has a team that they really like, and then a team that they like to see do well. And for some reason, XFactor, just the way they played back then when I watched them, I liked it. And Archie's fun to watch to play now too, and they play a good style. That's what I think.
Yeah, they play a good all around team.
Yeah,
all those guys on the team are so good. I mean, they're just all stars, man.
It's a fun time playing those guys for sure.
Yeah, dude, whenever I play them and Damage, and but I'm thinking about it, I'm like, dude, any of these teams, you have to watch your back, man. You cannot sleep on anybody in this league.
There's been a lot of upsets this year. In matches, and we've practiced PC Katana twice this year. They're the new team to the pro division, and there's days we'll split 50-50 with them in practice, or they might beat us one of the sets 7 points out of the 10. It's like you were saying, it's just so competitive now. Anyone can shoot anyone. It's just that mental game that separates everybody, the experience, and making the right decisions at the right time.
Yeah, I remember coming down for the I think it was before the Vegas event.
Yeah, the triple practice we had.
Yeah, dude, PC took it to us.
Yeah,
they were they're nobody to sleep on for sure too.
Not at all. I've known Logan Landry for 10 years now from PC Katana, and I met Zupa a few years ago. Those are dudes that they've been in the pro division before. They played with CEP back then, and they have the experience, and they have these young guys that they brought up through the semi-pro division last year and got a lot of experience, winning a lot of tournaments, and they're putting things together, and it's nice to see a young team come in and be competitive like AC Dallas was. You hate to see teams come in and fade away real quick after 1 year. No one wants to see anybody disappear that fast. You want everyone to stick around.
Yeah, for sure. And we no, we don't play you guys in World Cup, do we?
No, we play AC Dallas is our out of bracket match, and then we play Dynasty, PC Katana, and Seattle Thunder in our bracket.
So who do you think is going to be the tougher team out of your draw?
Well, we always kind of match up with AC Dallas kind of weird, because we're trying to revitalize the team and play a new, different kind of style. We don't want to be the sit back Damage and hide anymore, because there's we got the couple young kids on the team. That's not our style. We're the up in your face kind of paintball players.
Yeah.
We try to be, at least. And when we play AC Dallas, like for me personally, I can say, they're really good at that locking up and communication and covering zones, and not having that experience for me, it's kind of tough to play against them. And we seem to struggle against people who play that style for some reason. But I would definitely say AC Dallas would probably be the hardest matchup out of that, just because we don't seem to match up well with them sometimes. It's just something about it. Yeah. The Dynasty guys are really, really good. Obviously, they've been around for forever, and that's always a really fun game. We've played them almost every event, I think, this year, though, and it'll be a good event. I think it doesn't matter who's in your bracket. You don't know who's going to make it out. It's terrible.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. A buddy of mine and I were having this conversation. He brought up the thought of it. He goes, okay, who do you think is going to be like the hardest one to play at this event? Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. AC Dallas is one of those teams where they just show up. Not to say that they just show up. They show up and they play and they just perform. Every game is just, everything's so tight. Their mechanics are tight. Their team play is tight, and super smooth. I mean, the brothers play off the wall. TJ Danner is a machine. McCurley's a machine. All those guys on there are crazy.
They've got a good little thing going for them right now. That group works very well together, I think, at the moment. Yeah,
it's clicking, and I kind of went back and watched some matches of theirs in Chicago, and I was like, man, it's and thinking back on it too, there were so many games that were very, very close, where some teams might not, almost didn't make it through to Sunday.
Yeah.
And if we would have actually showed up and played against you guys, we would have had a chance. And
you came after me a couple times.
I tried it. Were you the one on the other side where I rolled over on the?
Yes, when you rolled over the cake, I turned around and I was like, "What in the world just happened?" Because you're on the ground, the cake's rolling, blowing away off the field. I'm like, man. But yeah, that was me up there.
Well, what I tried to do was I tried to get on the cake and kind of just roll over the cake. Yeah. And then try and get you, and then come back. But as soon as I got on it, I felt the back bungees just go. Boop, boop. I'm like, oh, I'm going over. So I started going over, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna keep going with this. I'll tell you what, though, I definitely did not get shot until I almost hit the ground.
That's awesome.
So, if I would have got shot, before that, I wouldn't have shot you. I promise.
Yeah, right.
Because dude, they would have threw a flag so quick on me if they would have saw me get shot.
You were stuck up on that cake. You were hanging out there for a second. That's for sure.
No, but it's fun though. You got to make paintball fun, and I feel like bending the rules a little bit, or keeping a team on edge, because something like that could possibly throw a team off or something, or this, that, and they're so worried about what just happened that now maybe we have the advantage going to the next point or something.
Picks up a little momentum. You play the gray area a little bit. I mean, people are lying to you in any sport if they say they don't play the gray area. It's very, very rare you find someone that says, no, I play by the rules strictly 100%. Obviously I'm not condoning cheating, like wiping face hits and stuff,
right.
But
right.
Everyone plays that gray area in every sport. On the football field, you're poking people in the eyes when you're standing up to try and get an advantage, and kicking them in the ribs and all that kind of stuff.
Dude, I don't know how many times where I played football and I would as a running back, I would get tackled, and as I go down on the ground, I get fingers in the eyes, and
I was running back as well, so I know exactly all about it. And then I started dishing it back.
Exactly. Once I started playing outside linebacker, and I started giving it back for sure. I never came off the field. I loved being out there.
Yeah, I played both ways. I played running back, and then I either played safety or corner on defense, and I usually I returned kicks and punts too. So
I did the same thing, and I kicked off too, and I punted.
See, I can't kick a ball to save my life.
I probably couldn't either.
I could never do. I can throw the ball. I played quarterback in Pop Warner and whatnot for all those years, so I can throw the ball 60, 65 yards probably pretty accurately, but I can't kick the ball to save my life.
You're gonna have to bring a football to the field, and we're gonna have to have a throw off.
There's always one in my trunk.
Well, it's on, man. It's on.
I'm down.
I love throwing a ball around, man. I like to do that actually before a practice. If anybody has a football, I like to throw it around. And
we either throw the football that's in the back of my car, or Jason will bring a frisbee sometimes, and then sometimes some of like the semi-pro kids that are at the field, a lot of them have like baseball gloves and a baseball, so we're usually running around doing something. Like rather than just like getting in a circle and stretching, we all kind of like loosen up by throwing the football and running routes on each other, or throwing the frisbee in a big circle with everybody. So that's how we get ready normally. We even do it at tournaments. We usually have the frisbee at tournaments.
Yeah, no, I think it's great, especially because a lot of the hockey teams, they play two-touch with a soccer ball before, as their little warm up before they get out and skate and everything. So
I mean, you just run around, you get a little warm, and stay loose, and helps it. And it like for us, our biggest thing is like we always say, you got to enjoy paintball, have fun. So if you're messing around with everybody beforehand, running routes on each other, or throwing frisbee and doing behind the back catches and all that kind of stuff, and everyone's laughing and having a good time, you go into the match with a positive vibe already with everybody on the team. So it's just
don't be that guy who twists his ankle trying to catch a frisbee.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah. So do you have any kind of pregame rituals or anything you do that that you've just kind of done ever since?
I've always been a very I get quiet before my matches. So and like I always did it in football too growing up. So right before the games, I'll usually throw my headphones in, and I just get the stone cold, I'm not pissed off face, but I just
nobody
don't
come
have
talk
any
to me.
emotion. Yeah, just let me be. And people will come up to me and be like, "Hey, bro, you okay? Get pumped, get ready for the match." And on the inside, I'm more ready than anyone can ever know. But on the outside, I just look calm, cool, and collected. It helps me keep I don't necessarily get the jitters or the butterflies, but it helps you stay calm. If you're jumping around or hyping myself up, for me, I just get overexcited. So if I stay calm and just get excited within myself, it helps me out a lot better. That's how I've always been. Just good music on, vibe out. I stretch a little bit. I've got this little stretching routine that I do every time before I play. Every match I do the same stretches in the same order for the same time. So that's kind of about it. Just let me be in my zone and leave me alone, and do my stretches, and I get ready for the game, and I think about what I'm supposed to be doing on the field, and watching the teams that are playing at the same time, seeing if there's anything that I can use in my game to help me out in certain situations. So yeah, kind of just keep to myself.
Yeah, I think there's two different kinds of players out there. There's ones that need to get hyped that way, who need to get hyped in the yelling way, and and there's he'll let you know. He'll let you know for sure.
Definitely.
And then there's others that you kind of need to step back and just let them. They know what they're doing. Let them get ready on their own or whatever.
That's me.
And I was like that. I still kind of do that where I'm still kind of hype people up or whatever.
Yeah.
But I step away and I meditate for 5 minutes or whatever. I just kind of bring myself into the moment, or however you want to look at it. And I think that through the years I've went from listening to music, getting hyped up, doing all this stuff, to now being older, I have so much more mental prep that I can do with myself. That I let everybody else, try and get hyped up in their own way, but I still get in there every once in a while and let people know.
Definitely. I mean, it gets me going too. Right before the game, we usually have a pretty hyped huddle, because like you said, Montressor screams at the top of his lungs, and it works there. But we just like I said, we like to have a fun, positive vibe. So I'm off by myself and everything, but at the same time I'm walking around, cracking jokes with that. We try to make it not seem so serious, if that makes any sense. We try to make it just it's just another weekend at CFP with everybody. We're just playing paintball, so no one sits there and you're like, all right, we got to go win this match, we have to win this point. We try to not take it so serious, but we're also taking it serious in the same sense. It's a way that helps us. Yeah,
absolutely, because I feel like if you take it too serious, now you're almost doing it as your job, and not as as this exaggerated hobby that it's really become for all of us. And now you're taking it to this whole new level. Unless fuck, unless you are getting paid for it and it is your job,
Yeah.
and you should be taking it serious. You should be doing it every day of the week, and you should be a monster. But I mean, not everybody is doing that. Not everybody can do that. So
not everyone
you
has
cannot.
the ability.
Exactly. You just can't. You can't overthink it, and really, that's what it comes down to.
That's the biggest thing. Just stay calm. Don't overthink it. A lot of people overanalyze the game. It's simple. It really is when you break the game down. Yeah,
and I mean, too, a lot of the guys out there and a lot of the up and comers out there who are listening, you know, it's you know, I want to say that it's a lot easier said than done, but the first thing to do is you got to say it to yourself. You got to say that you can do it. You got to say that you're going to put the time to it, and then do it. If you can't mentally say it first, you're not going to be able to do it.
You got to believe in yourself before anyone else can believe in you. Definitely.
Yeah, because believe me, don't think that we got to where we are today by, you know, everything going right.
Not at all. Not even close.
No. And everybody, I guarantee, or there's a very select few that have been fortunate like that, but I guarantee there's hardly anybody in the sport or anybody in life in general that just had everything handed to them and they're on top, you know.
Exactly. Most people that are there worked hard for it, and they're proud to have it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Mike, dude, I think we had a pretty good damn conversation, I'd say.
That was a good one.
I had a great time, man, and I
really
wanted to hear kind of where you came from, because for me, I stopped playing after 2009, and that's kind of when you came in.
That's when I showed up. I went from, just quick rundown, I did the Total Carnage program with Jacob and Keith, you know, when they played divisionals before they went to Damage, and then from there I went to the Palm Beach Vipers when I moved down to Boca Raton for college, and then moved back to Orlando and tried to restart Total Carnage, and then that's when we started that Rack City Clutch team that I played with for the last 2 years. So I'm just a homegrown Florida boy through and through.
But that's what's sweet, though, is that you're playing for a Florida team, a Florida team.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and it's you know, I wish there was a team from Ohio to say that I was playing on an Ohio team, but Aftershock's the closest that I can do.
Yeah. So it's cool to have a home state team, that's for sure. It's also nice to only have to drive an hour for practice, an hour and 15
minutes. So jealous, dude. So jealous.
And I complain about it every single weekend.
Well, man, I wish you the best of luck at World Cup, and you know, I think you're on one of the best programs out there, and you can only go up from here. Appreciate it, man. It was good talking to you. I'll see you next week. Absolutely. Anytime, man. Take care. You too, buddy. All right. See ya. See ya. Thank you so much, Mike, for sitting down with me. I very much appreciate it. It's so cool hearing another person's story that kind of came up playing the same position that I did. You know, the aggressor, the dagger to go kind of weave your way in and make as much damage happen as possible. It's very cool to hear. So thank you so much, Mike, and good luck at World Cup. And a big thank you to our sponsors, Dr. Paintball. Make sure you check them out over at drpaintball.com and check out all of their new and used gear, along with all of the other content that they have on their website. Also to Charm City Paintball, who will be at World Cup with some awesome swag. So make sure you check his headbands out, his head wraps, also the pack bands that him and I are working on. A big thank you to GI Sports. There'll be a World Cup. There'll be a big old booth at World Cup. Make sure definitely you check out their loader, the LVL loader. I believe Impact uses it. I think that Seattle Thunder uses it. I know that we use it. I've been extremely happy and impressed with it. So you can find all of that over at gisports.com. And last but not least, Planet Eclipse, where they have the new G-Mech that is coming out. That looks sick. So make sure you head over to planeteclipse.com to check up on all of the updates. And like always, thank you everyone out there listening. I very much appreciate everybody who clicks the play button and sits down for a good hour and a half on all these and listens to myself and my guests talk. I really much appreciate it. And you can find all of these podcasts on Overcast, Stitcher, Google Play Store, on the iTunes and SoundCloud, all of the podcast platforms. Make sure you check them out. And if you guys have any kind of comments or anything you want to add, please go over to Carl Markowski, Carl_Markowski on Instagram, or the Playing On Podcast, or Facebook, Carl Microwave Markowski, or the Playing On Podcast. I answer both, so make sure that you guys get your voice heard out there. I'm always looking at my emails and my messages, trying to answer them as quickly as possible. But really, man, I really do appreciate you guys listening. And here, this is the last one before World Cup. I'm gonna do a 3 or 4 over at World Cup live. I will release the audio, later on that day. Maybe I'll even do it later on, maybe after World Cup. But as far as the footage goes, I'll be filming it live, either on YouTube or on Facebook. But I'll let you guys know. Just keep up on the social media. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you again soon here on the Playing On Podcast. Peace.